Today's the day. And honestly, it's long overdue. Today's the day that we get an actual storage solution set up, because honestly, I can't take this mess anymore. But I'm not going to put the storage solution over here in our jungle village. Instead, I'm going to put our storage system way over here in the jungle. And while this may seem like a totally random location, this is actually the center of where our jungle temple build will eventually sit. I'm going ahead and putting our storage room over here because I don't want to have to move items around the world twice. I don't want to have to make a storage room in the jungle village just to move them over to the jungle temple in a couple of weeks. I'd rather just go ahead and get this set up. So I'm gonna go with a circular pattern for our storage room just because I find that this makes finding items a whole lot easier. You see, I've had storage rooms in the past that are basically these long hallways, and you spend most of your time running back and forth down the hallway to access a chest and then running back to access this chest, and it's kind of hard to see the item frames, and it's just not fun. It's not a fun storage room experience. But if I do my room in the shape of a circle, I can see all of my chests from the center of the room, so it should make it easier to find what I'm looking for. Okay, so first thing, chest layout. I want to have a fair amount of storage capacity in the room, but I also want the ease of accessing my chests quickly. So that means no placing item frames on the side of chests like this, where I have to hit the corner or the side in order to access the chest. That just won't do. So here's what I'm thinking. I say we do a row of stairs like this, and this allows us to put our item frames on the back of the stairs. Then above that is where our chests will go like this, and then on top of these chests we can immediately do another row of stairs like so we can still access these chests and still place our item frames. And now everything should be fairly easy to organize, but we still have the issue of bulk storage. You see, I have some items like stone and cobblestone that I have a lot of. So to handle this, I'm gonna set up a rule for myself. So here's the rule. Whenever a chest reaches max capacity to where we can't store any more items, I'm going to take the stone out of the chest, I'm going to get a shulker box, and I'm going to fill one shulker box with those items. Once that shulker box is full, I'm going to break the shulker box, and I'm going to place it back into the chest of that item type. That way we have some type of bulk storage for this system. This does still limit our storage in some regard, but if we ever hit that problem, we'll deal with that then. I don't see myself ever filling an entire chest of stone shulker boxes. I do way too many builds for that. And for the time being, I'm not going to worry about designing this room aesthetically. I basically just need the storage solution, and we'll come back in and design this build later on whenever we actually work on the jungle temple. For right now, it's just gonna be stone bricks. And there's one last thing that I want to include into the storage room, and that is what I like to call a dump chest. Basically, this chest is just going to let me dump items into it for me to sort out later. I know myself, and I quite often forget what I'm doing if I get distracted by sorting items, so this lets me dump items, get on with what I was doing, and once whatever project I'm working on is finished, I can come back and sort the jump chests into the correct spots. So that's it. The room is now set up. I just now need to get all of the items in here and then sort them into some good spots. But I'm going to do all of that on my live stream. So for now, let's move on to our next project. So the next project that I really want to work on is the main entrance into our base. This thing is, well, it doesn't look good at all. And because of that, I don't really use this entrance a whole lot, and I'm still using the ladder that is connected up below our starter house. But that's going to change today because I'm going to go ahead and get this area cleared up, and I have quite a few little building ideas for this area. And just clearing this area out and pushing the jungle back is making it look a whole lot better already. But because we've cleared all of the vegetation out of here, we can now get a really good look at the land, and honestly, it's a bit lopsided. It's a bit lopsided, as you can see here. We have kind of a hilly point over here, and over to the left side of our bridge, there's pretty much nothing. There's kind of just this big hole down here. And that's definitely not what we want. What we'd rather do is kind of pull the eyes toward the entrance to the area. So what I think I'm going to do first is get the land in order here. And to do that, I'm going to extend this hill out this way in order to make it seem kind of even on both sides of the bridge. All right, so I've done a little bit of dirt work here and it's looking a little bit better. I've definitely expanded the hill over to the right side a little bit. I may have to do it more in the future as we get some more of our more character pieces in here, but for right now, I think we have enough room for us to at least start building up this entranceway. And that's looking pretty good. Pretty good. That's not bad. What I'm going for here is more of a tribal entranceway with two big logs crossing over each other. Maybe they are tied up at the top or something like that, but we have the same thing in the front and the back, and then in between here, what I'm going to do is fill it up with cobblestone as if it is two structures that was just kind of leaned over each other and maybe tied at the top. And honestly, I think it's coming out good so far. All right, and I think that came out looking pretty nice. It kind of seems big and bold right now, but as we get in more things into this area, it's going to start to shrink, especially as we bring back in some of the vegetation of the jungle trees. This is going to look a lot smaller. Right now, it does look kind of big. But the next thing I want to do is try to get in some fire pots on either side of the entrance, which means I'm probably going to need to do some more dirt work. Next, moss. And right now you may be thinking that the moss blocks and the fire and all is just a bit too much, but this is just kind of the base layer of what we're doing here. So now that we have this base layer of moss in, what we're gonna do is start adding in the blocks that are really going to break the moss up, such as a path with some jungle planks in order to have our step ups. We also need to clear out any of the tall grass that's on this path. And we're basically just going to bring this path down over here to this cliffside. You see, it's looking better already. Now we're going to break the moss up even more by adding in jungle leaves and gravel. And we're looking pretty good. The gravel and the jungle leaves really help to break up the moss and kind of act as a gradient across the entire area. And honestly, I like how it turned out. Now, this is good. This is good, but it's time to take this up to the next level. And honestly, this is a concept in Minecraft that I really wish I could explain better, but the idea is once you're kind of done with the base layer of an area, it's kind of the next step to step back and go, okay, what's next? And it's kind of hard to explain, but essentially what you're wanting to do is find little details that you can add into an area that's next. Something that is going to bring the entire build up to the next level. The small details, essentially. For instance, this little treehouse. I decided I wanted a little treehouse to kind of tie in the jungle back into this area. And it could be maybe a kid's playhouse or maybe just a lookout post for a guard or something. But it's just something small that you can add that adds a little more detail to the area. Same thing with like this left side over here. It's kind of a big flat area. It feels like something should go in this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place some jungle trees very close to one another, and we're going to make a small little cocoa bean farm. And it's not like we're doing anything that is super groundbreaking here. It's just a simple question of, okay, that's done. What's next? What's next for this area? What's the next thing that I can add in? And while it may seem like this is such a trivial question and like that'll never work, if you ask other builders, a lot of them ask themselves this question over and over again because honestly, it's the little things that make an entire build go together. And once you ask yourself what's next enough times, you'll eventually end up with something that looks like this. And now that everything is in, it's looking pretty good. This build came together quite nice. Now there's still more that we can do. We can continue on down this what's next path for ages if you want to. You can come back through and you can put in some flowers to add some color to the place. You can come back in with some more of these dirt paths that I've used, and you can make the place feel a little bit more muddy. You can also come in around this campfire, add in some chairs. You can just do a lot. You can do a lot to an area just by asking yourself what's next. And it's something that builders use a lot, and it's something that really lets us get to this level of detail and this level of beauty in such a small area, in such a small space. We also use little tricks like what I did here with the treehouse. I actually hid it behind this tree. That way, whenever you're coming in from the front, whenever you're entering into the village, you kind of don't really see it. You can see the ladder pass by the side of the screen, but whenever you come out, you will see the treehouse clear as day right there on your left. And it's just a perspective thing that you can use to make it to where when you pass through areas, sometimes you'll notice something new about the area, and it's just cutting off lines of sight like that sometimes that will really make an area feel different whenever you come through it a second time. And I still have more that I could do to this area if I wanted to, but I'm actually running out of time for today's episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.